Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are unpacking the story of Snoopi Botten. And honestly, this doesn't read like a medical case study.
No.
It feels more like a Prison Break movie, but it's all set inside the, sterile fluorescent hallways of the American healthcare system.
It's a case study in agency. It's about a high-stakes chess match between one individual with significant disabilities and a system that's just designed to process people like widgets.
We're working from some really fascinating sources today. But the real color, the real story, comes from Snoopi himself. Specifically, a personal narrative and lyrics from a song he wrote called My Fight.
And that title is so literal. This was a fight. Our mission here is to understand how someone who the system saw as powerless, a person with disabilities, no family backup, relying on the state, how he managed to completely flip the script.
And for you listening, this really matters because it challenges everything we think we know about patient advocacy. We usually think of advocacy as like politely asking for a second opinion. This was guerrilla warfare.
It really was. It forces us to ask, what happens when you refuse to fit into the box the system has built for you? And maybe more importantly, do you have the stamina to keep refusing for 10 straight months?
So let's set the scene. We need to understand this pipeline. Why was Snoopi even in this position? Because looking at the notes, he wasn't, acutely sick when this all started.
Right. To understand Snoopi's drastic actions, you have to understand the trap he was in.
Okay.
That source material on vulnerabilities lays it all out. There's a specific protocol for disabled individuals who lack, and this is the term they use, kinship support.
Kinship support. That's such a clinical way of saying family, isn't it?
It is. It refers to unpaid labor parents, siblings, a spouse. If you have family, they can advocate for you. They can, take you into their spare bedroom while you recover.
They can navigate the system.
Exactly. But if you don't have that and you have a gap in your care, the system defaults to exactly one solution.
Nursing home.
Yep. The hospital is not a housing agency. They don't have the time or the resources to find private apartments for patients. So if you can't go home because you have no help, the protocol says, admit to a facility.
And for Snoopi, this all kicks off in 2021. He was living on his own with home health care, but then his worker quit.
And that was the catalyst, one resignation. Suddenly he has no staff to help with daily living. He can't live on his own without that care. So he goes to the hospital for help, thinking they'll help him find a new worker.
But instead,
because he lacked that kinship support, they just started the nursing home protocol.
and this is the scary part that I think a lot of people don't get. If a nursing home says, yes, we'll take you, do you have the right to say no?
Generally, in this specific context, when you're relying on state-funded care, no. You lose your vote. You go where the bed is.
Wow.
It's supply and demand issue, and the patient is just the supply being moved to meet the demand.
That is terrifying. You lose your vote on where you sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
So Snoopi gets placed at the Crawford nursing home. And from his narrative, this seems to be where the trauma really starts.
It's a domino effect. He starts in a shared room. Apparently, his roommate felt Snoopi was invading his space, so they move him to a private room.
Which sounds like an upgrade, but then the care issues begin. And this is the part that, it really made me wince. Snoopi has specific skin allergies. He knows his own body.
Right.
He knows he can't wear certain kinds of diapers or use certain products.
But the staff at Crawford, and he describes them as cold-hearted, they just ignored his medical history.
Yeah.
They forced a diaper on him that he was allergic to.
And the lyrics are so graphic here. He says his skin started to bleed. This wasn't just discomfort. This was physical injury caused by neglect.
And that physical injury, that's the breaking point. It's the moment the fight really begins. Snoopi realizes that as long as he is in this facility, he is not safe.
But he can't just check out, right? He still needs care.
He can't. So he pulls a move that is, it's drastic. He knows the rules of the system, maybe better than the people running it.
Okay.
He knows that if he presents as an immediate danger to himself, the nursing home cannot keep him. They just aren't equipped for acute psychiatric crises.
So what did he do?
He feigned being suicidal. He started shouting. He created a scene so severe that the nursing home had no other choice. They had to call 911.
And I just love the detail he includes here. He says the ambulance came and got him, and he left with a smile on my face.
That smile tells you everything you need to know. He wasn't having a mental breakdown.
No.
He was executing a jailbreak. He knew exactly what button to push to get the doors to open.
So the ambulance takes him to the Cleveland Clinic, a world-class hospital. You'd think, okay, safe haven. But this is actually where the real war begins.
Because the Cleveland Clinic's goal is to stabilize him and, well, send him back to a nursing home.
Right. The protocol hasn't changed.
Maybe not Crawford, but somewhere similar. The protocol is the protocol.
And Snoopi is just... he's having none of it. He tells them on day one, I would never go to another nursing home.
And the staff's response, you don't have a choice.
Okay, let's unpack this standoff, because this is the core of the story. We're looking at a timeline of 10 months total in the hospital, but those first 6 months, that was just pure combat.
This is where you have to appreciate the strategic brilliance and just the sheer endurance of Snoopi Botten.
No.
I mean, think about it. He's in a hospital bed. He has no money, no family, no legal power to refuse placement. And the hospital has social workers calling every facility in the state to come get him.
So how do you stop that machine?
You have to make yourself unadmittable. You have to become a liability that no insurance company, no facility director will even touch.
The poison pill strategy.
Exactly. And he had a multi-pronged approach. First, restraints.
Right, the lyrics mention this. First, I got started with having to be tied down.
And this is a really crucial detail about healthcare regulations. Nursing homes operate under very strict rules. Most of them cannot accept a patient who requires physical restraints.
Oh, okay.
It requires staffing ratios they don't have, and it's a massive legal risk. So by acting out enough that the hospital had to restrain him, Snoopi was effectively stamping a giant reject on his own medical file.
He was putting a do not admit sign on his own forehead?
Yes, and he escalated it to combat. He got aggressive with staff. Again, nursing homes generally reject patients with a history of recent aggression. They want compliance.
And Snoopi gave them chaos.
Total chaos.
And then comes my favorite part of this whole absurd bureaucratic tragedy.
Yeah.
The behavioral contract. The hospital realizes he's manipulating the system, so they try to bureaucratize his behavior. They draw up a contract saying, you must do X, Y, and Z.
Which is pretty standard procedure. They thought, if we put it on paper, he has to follow it.
But to Snoopi, that piece of paper was just a list of buttons to push.
A to-do list for misbehaving.
He says it right in the song.
Yeah.
Once they tried to control my right and wrong, I just broke more rules all day long.
He saw it as a challenge. If the contract said, don't yell, he yelled. If it said, cooperate with nurses, he refused. He was systematically proving to the entire state of Ohio that he was ungovernable in an institutional setting.
And it worked. The source says he broke rules until every single nursing home in Ohio rejected him. Every single one.
Just think about the scale of that for a second. There are hundreds of facilities in Ohio. The hospital caseworkers must have been just exhausted.
I can't even imagine.
They're calling place after place, faxing his file, and every single place is looking at the records of restraints, combat, broken contracts, and saying, absolutely not.
And this went on for 6 months.
6 full months, half a year. I want you, listening, to just pause and imagine that. Working up every single day in a hospital room, eating hospital food, and having to summon the energy to fight the staff, to scream, to be bad, just to make sure you aren't shipped away.
It's exhausting just thinking about it. Most people would have broken after a week. They would have just said, fine, send me anywhere.
And that's what the system counts on. It counts on attrition. Snoopi just refused to tire out.
But eventually something had to give. And amazingly, it wasn't Snoopi. It was the hospital. Why do they finally give up?
Economics, plain and simple.
The bill.
The bill. The source states that Snoopi's stay cost the hospital over $500,000.
Wow.
Hospitals are businesses. A patient taking up a bed for 6 months who isn't acutely ill, who's racking up a $500,000 tab that probably won't be fully reimbursed, that's a massive financial bleed.
Right. That bed could be used for a heart surgery or a stroke patient. Snoopi was just occupying valuable real estate.
So the hospital administrators are looking at a spreadsheet. They see Snoopi Botten minus $500,000. And they realize he's winning.
They realized that keeping him there and fighting him was more expensive than just giving him what he wanted.
They buckled.
So what does buckling look like in this situation?
It looked like a retreat, a full retreat. They stopped trying to force the nursing home placement. They gave him access to a computer and a phone tools he didn't have easy access to during the combat phase. And they effectively said, fine, you find a place.
So this shifts us into the second phase of the timeline. We've had 6 months of combat. Now we have 4 months of, what, construction?
Resolution and logistics. This is the final 4 months of the 10-month stay. Snoopi is no longer fighting the staff. Now he's acting as his own case manager.
He mentions getting help from friends
Yeah.
and an awful lot of prayer.
Which is significant. It highlights that while he lacked kinship support in that legal sense family to take him in, he wasn't entirely alone. He had a community of friends who rallied once the hospital got out of the way.
So they find a house. He finds a place where he can live independently with home health care. Victory, right? End of story.
Almost. But there's one last hurdle. The house wasn't accessible. It needed a ramp, wider doors. Snoopi is in a wheelchair. You can't just move into a standard house.
And usually that's where the plan falls apart. Modifications cost thousands of dollars. If you've been stuck in a hospital for almost a year, you don't have that kind of cash.
And this is where the economics come roaring back. And this is the ultimate irony of the entire story. The hospital is so desperate to get him out, to stop that $500,000 bleed, that they pay for the modifications.
No way. The hospital paid to renovate his private rental house.
According to the source, the hospital paid $30,000.
Already grand.
They paid for the ramp. They paid to widen the doors. They effectively built his exit route because it was the only way to get him off their book.
That is just incredible. They spent $30,000 to save the next $500,000.
Exactly. It was a cold financial calculation for them. But for Snoopi, it was the final victory lap. He didn't just beat the system. He made the system fund his independence.
So after 10 months, 6 of fighting to get them to listen, 4 of planning the exit, he leaves.
He leaves. He says, "It's my old house now. It's where I live."
I want to circle back to those song lyrics, My Fight. Because Snoopi isn't just recounting events. He's offering a whole philosophy here. There's a line that keeps coming back. Sometimes doing wrong is needed to get what is right.
It's a profound statement. He acknowledges that his behavior was wrong by societal standards. He was aggressive. He wasted hospital resources. He broke all the rules. He made the nurses' lives difficult.
But he argues it was necessary.
Because the right outcome, his autonomy, his safety, his dignity, was being blocked by the correct rules. If he had followed the rules, he would have been bleeding in a diaper in a nursing home for the rest of his life.
He also quotes the Bible repeatedly, let your yes be yes and your no be no.
And that speaks to his resolve. When he said no nursing home, he meant it as an absolute. The system is used to no, meaning I'd prefer not to, but I'll eventually comply.
Right.
Snoopi's no meant no.
It's interesting how he credits God for the victory. He says, it's by his power and by his might that I had the guts to stand and win the fight.
It reframes the bad behavior as a sort of holy resistance. He didn't see himself as a difficult patient. He saw himself as a warrior in a spiritual and physical battle for his life.
What stands out to you when you look at the system's role in all this?
The rigidity. The system is designed for efficiency, not individuality. It has a slot for a disabled person without family, and that slot is nursing home. When Snoopi didn't fit, the system just broke down. It didn't know what to do with him other than to try and force him back into the shape of a widget.
It took a $500,000 loss for the system to innovate. That's the takeaway for me. The solution, housing with home health care, it was there all along, but the protocol just didn't allow for it until the cost of not doing it became astronomical.
Which raises a huge question about resource allocation, doesn't it? We spent $500,000 warehousing a human being who just wanted to live in a house. Imagine if a fraction of that money had been applied to housing assistance on day one.
We wouldn't even be talking about a 10-month hospital stay.
Precisely. The inefficiency of the bureaucracy is actually the most expensive part of this whole equation.
And yet, Snoopi had to be the one to break it. He had to be the bad guy.
He had to become the villain of the hospital ward to become the hero of his own life.
That is a powerful way to put it.
It's really the only way to interpret it. If he had been a good patient, he would have lost everything.
So Snoopi's now in his house. The ramp is there, paid for by the Cleveland Clinic. He has his home health care.
And he has his autonomy. He proved that the inevitable pipeline to a nursing home isn't actually inevitable if you were willing to fight hard enough.
But, and this is the scary part, how many people have the stamina to fight for 10 months?
Very, very few. Snoopi is an outlier. Most people, exhausted by illness or disability, they eventually get worn down. They sign the papers. They go to the home. Snoopi's story is inspiring, but it's also an indictment of a system that requires that level of fight just to exist in your own home.
It's a survival story.
It absolutely is.
So let's just recap this timeline one last time, because I think it really frames the magnitude of this.
Sure. It's important to see the whole arc.
Month 0, home health worker quits, crisis begins. Month 1, Crawford Nursing Home, the abuse, the escape, months 1 through 6. the standoff at Cleveland Clinic, restraints, combat, the behavioral contract, and finally, total rejection by every Ohio nursing home.
Yeah.
Then, months 7 through 10, the victory lap. The hospital surrenders, provides the tools, Snoopi finds the house, and the hospital cuts a check for $30,000 for modifications.
And finally, freedom.
It's incredible, and it brings us to the end of this deep dive.
It's been a heavy one, but an important one.
Definitely. We always like to leave you with something to think about. We've talked about the money, the tactics, the fight.
But here's the question I want to leave you with. We live in a society that claims to value independence, yet our systems are designed for compliance. If you found yourself in Snoopi's hospital bed, unable to walk, no family to call, and a doctor handing you a brochure for a nursing home you hated, would you have the courage to become the problem?
Would you have the guts to let your no be no, even if it meant being tied down?
That's the question. How much fight should be required just to live a normal life?
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the story of Snoopi Botten.
Keep questioning the system.
See you next time.
In 2021, I was put in the Crawford nursing home. I was in a shared room, but left alone. My roommate felt I was invading his space, so we went to another room, giving me a private place. But in a short time, trouble started. There were some nurses who were cold-hearted. My skin had certain allergies, but ignoring it, they forced a diaper on me. In a very short time, my skin could bleed. So from that place, I had to leave. I know the rules and a sure way to get out. So suicidal, I pretended and I started to shout. They called 911, they came and got me with a smile on my face. And that is how I got out of that place. Fight, fight, you have got to fight. Sometimes doing wrong is needed to get what is right. The Bible says to let your yes be yes and your no be no. You will be blessed more than you will know. I was taken to the hospital, Cleveland Clinic, unimpressed by all the staff in it. For I told them on day one I would never go to another nursing home. Oh no, no. They ignored my voice. They tried to say I didn't have a choice. So as long as I had a nursing home label, I'd show them, I'd turn the tables. I knew what I had to do, I was no fool. I got busy breaking all the rules, for I knew nursing homes and every policy, and what it would take for the rejection of me. First I got started with having to be tied down, for in nursing homes restraints cannot be found. And with staff I got into combat, cause no nursing home would handle that. Then the hospital did something that backfired. They did a behavioral contract, hoping I retired. But once they tried to control my right and wrong, I just broke more rules all day long. I said daily I would stop if they did what was right, but they kept calling nursing homes day and night. Fight, fight, you have got to fight. Sometimes doing wrong is needed to get what is right. The Bible says to let your yes be yes and your no be no. You will be blessed more than you will know. I did everything, even beyond indecency. No nursing home would think of taking me. It took 6 months, but they finally retreated. I had won and they were defeated. They let me have my computer and gave me a phone, so I could find a place of my own. And with some friends and an awful lot of prayer, we found a house and some home health care. But we had one problem, it needed modification. The hospital knew it was still a situation. A long stay cost them over $500,000. A staying longer made them jump and holler. So $30,000 they did pay for a ramp, wider doors, and made it all okay. It's my own house now, it's where I live. And daily my thanks to God I give, for it's by His power and by His might that I had the guts to stand and win the fight. Fight, fight, you have got to fight. Sometimes doing wrong is needed to get what is right. The Bible says to let your yes be yes and your no be no. You will be blessed more than you will know. Fight, fight, you have got to fight. Sometimes doing wrong is needed to get what is right. The Bible says to let your yes be yes and your no be no. You will be blessed more than you will know.